So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm so honored that you would spend your Friday night with me in my first just Mary restorative online. I've done online classes before, but this is the first one I'm doing where it's me as a standalone. So thank you for joining me. If you have never done restorative yoga before, just a little few pointers on it and what it's about. So restorative yoga really is all about rest. It's about renewing your body, relaxing. My motto is if you're trying it all, you're doing it wrong. So you could lay on your mat for the next hour and 15 minutes and that would be okay. So restorative yoga is really meant to give the body a chance to just be. So we're not trying to stretch. We're not trying to do any sort of like strengthen our core or do anything like that. We're just letting the body rest. My trainer, when I took my class, described it best when she said, in Hatha Yoga you hold the pose, and in restorative yoga the pose holds you. So we'll have all these props that we gathered to build the position up from the ground so that there's no parts of you that are kind of hanging out there. So if we're in a pose, you don't want your arm just sort of hanging because we don't want any tension on any of the muscles. So it really is just like put the cozy socks on. We're not standing up, like we're really just going to be on the ground. So if you have your props, I'm going to be doing everything with the homemade props so that it looks to you how you might be handling it. So the little washcloth or towel is your face mask, which is just nice to kind of close out the noise in the world around you or the light. If you have books, I've got my Encyclopedia of the Saints and How to Cook Everything Vegetarian. They sort of match up in size, so they kind of work because they match. And then I have a couple of other books in case I need them. I've got these throw pillows, which can be used either as bolsters or under the legs if we need them, and our blankets. And then I'm going to be using the bed pillows for the bolster. And I'll go through everything as we move along and explain everything. And I will set myself in the position so that you can see what I'm talking about in case something doesn't make sense. So I think we probably have everybody that we're going to have tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started. The last things just to remind you is, as with any exercise program, you know your body's limits. So don't do anything that you know is not good for you or is hurting you. Yoga should never hurt, whether it's in this class or anybody else's. And so come out of any pose that is hurting you. Not that restorative is going to hurt, but just so you know what I mean. If your knees are bothering you or your back, if you're pregnant or have a hernia, you're not going to do anything that has a twist. So just keep in mind that you know your body and your limitations, and so you do what you need to do. And there's no wrong. It's all going to be okay. So come to a tall seat. You may have noticed I'm sitting on a rolled up blanket that I folded over a couple of times. You could use a pillow, a block, or a blanket. If you like to sit straight on the floor, that's fine. But the blanket can kind of lift your hips just enough to sort of let the spine move into its natural position and make it a little easier to sit on the ground. And if, as we do this starting session, if you want to sit in a chair till we get to the poses, you're welcome to do that too. So come to a tall seat. You'll feel yourself grounded on the mat or a chair or your blanket. Let your hands rest on the tops of the thighs, palms down, so it's a grounded feeling. And we're sitting up tall with the crown to the sky, but we're not holding ourselves rigid. So we sit up tall, but we're not tense. And we're just feeling that long spine. Close the eyes, or if you don't like to close the eyes, just look down at the ground. And begin to soften with your exhales. So soften your forehead and the space between your eyebrows. Unclench your jaw. Let the shoulders relax down and away from the ears so that you almost feel like your elbows are just hanging loose. Soften your heart center and the belly and all the way down to the pelvic floor. So oftentimes we're holding tension in different places that we don't even realize. So you'll probably hear me run through some of that again as we are in different poses to remind you, unclench the jaw, unfurrow the brow. And just notice your breath. Don't do anything to your breath. Just notice it, feeling the belly expand on the inhale and contract on the exhale. And using those exhales to let go of tension, to let go of some of the tension of your day, of your week. Just letting yourself settle into this space and knowing that you have nothing else that you have to do. You're home in the comfort of your house. You can do whatever feels right for you. So really just take the opportunity to kind of let yourself embrace the chance to not have to do a lot of stuff. You don't have to achieve anything. So as you breathe and sit up nice and tall and just settle into our space, I'm going to read you a poem by Jan Richardson called A Blessing for Epiphany. So in the Christian tradition, tomorrow is the Feast of the Epiphany, and when the Magi came to Bethlehem, but this is sort of a different take on this idea of Epiphany. So just listen to the words and see if anything resonates with you. If you could see the whole journey, you might never undertake it, might never dare the first step that propels you from the place you have known toward a place you know not. Call it one of the mercies of the road, that we see it only by stages as it opens before us, as it comes into our keeping, step by single step. There is nothing for it but to go, and by going, take the vows the pilgrim takes, to be faithful to the next step, to rely on more than the map, to heed the signposts of intuition and dream, to follow the star that only you will recognize, to keep an eye for the wonders that attend the path, to press on beyond distractions, beyond fatigue, beyond what would tempt you from the way. There are vows that only you will know, the secret promises for your particular path, and the new ones you will need to make when the road is revealed by turns you could not have foreseen. Keep them, break them, make them again. Each promise becomes part of the path. Each choice creates the road that will take you to the place where at last you will kneel to offer the gift most needed, the gift that only you can give, before turning to go home by another way. So this idea of epiphany, being present in the moment. Maybe you're on a path that you didn't foresee, something that sort of came out of the blue and surprised you. Or maybe you chose a path when that doesn't make it any easier. So this idea of trying to be present in our own lives, right? So can you be present right here for this class, not worrying about yesterday, not worrying about what's coming up this weekend, and just being present? Because really it's only when we're in the now that we get the epiphany. The epiphany doesn't happen in the past and it doesn't happen in the future. The epiphany only happens in the now. And that's a hard thing to do. And I don't say it as an expert. I walking the path with you. But for just tonight, could you try to be in the now and then maybe see when this is over if you could take a little of that back into your own life, whatever your path may be. So we're going to go ahead. You can gently open the eyes and we will just do a few movements. Even though restorative doesn't require us to do a whole big warm-up, we'll just do a few little stretches to loosen things up. So inhale, both arms up overhead, and then bring prayer hands down to the center of the heart. And again, inhale up. Exhale the hands to the center of the heart. One more time, inhale up. Exhale down to the center of the heart, and then clasp your hands together and push your palms out in front of you and bring your chin to your chest. So you feel that nice rounding in the top of the back. And then inhale the palms up toward the ceiling, sitting up tall. Exhale and round. Inhale up. Exhale and round. Inhale up, and this time let the hands separate. Bring that left hand to the ground. Reach the right arm up toward the ceiling and then over to the side. So we don't want to rock ourselves up on the hip. Our hips are planted. And you can look up underneath that arm or straight ahead or even down at your knee. Whatever feels good on the neck. We're just keeping in mind how your neck feels. So just getting that side stretch. And then inhaling both arms up and going the other way. And then inhaling both arms up, and we'll take that right hand to the left knee and turn and do a little twist. So the other hand is behind you, like a kickstand. Looking over the shoulder, sitting up tall, and then inhaling both arms up, and we'll go to the other side. And if you do a different side than I do, it's okay. Just do the other side the next time. We'll always do both sides. And inhaling both hands up and bringing them back to the tops of the legs. And now if you're sitting up on something, go ahead and slide it out from underneath you. Bring the hands to the tops of the knees and just begin to do some little hip circles or big, whatever feels good, just loosening up the hips a little bit. And you can inhale as you come around the front and exhale as you go toward the back. And then come to a pause in reverse directions. And then come back up to your tall seat, and I will explain our first pose, which is Mountain Brook. It's a very basic, pretty easy to set up pose for us. So you have the option of using a bolster if you have a bolster or a pillow underneath your knees, but sometimes that's almost too high for us. So you could take one of your blankets and roll it. So one thing I will tell you while I roll my blanket, the hardest part of restorative is the setup. So it takes a little time, but if you can make that part of the practice and try to do it mindfully and with intention, and same thing when it comes time to move and transition out of a pose, really try to be mindful when you do the movements. So this is going to go toward the bottom of your mat and your knees will go over it. If you'd rather use a pillow, you could use a pillow. The main thing is you don't want your feet kind of just dangling out there too high. Then we'll take one of our blankets. I'm going to use a thinner blanket so that it's not, this is going to go under our back. So if you're somebody who does a lot of yoga and back bends are a big thing you love, you could use something bigger. If not, I would use a thinner blanket, and we basically fold it so we get this long rectangle, and that's going to kind of go 2/3 up the mat. And we're going to lay our back on it, and our shoulder blades will be just off the top. And then finally, we're going to put a blanket at the top of our mat with just a little roll in it for our neck. So we're not going to roll the whole thing. We're just going to put a little roll to put that, our neck is going to lay over it. I'll show you it. And once you get down there, you're going to want your eye cloth to cover your eyes. So you put the knees over the roll. When you get down there, you may notice this blanket doesn't feel right, so you make adjustments. So I come down, I can kind of feel, okay, it's pretty close for me. And then this thing is not under my neck, so I need to move it, get it underneath my neck. If you have glasses, take your glasses off. And then you take your washcloth or eye pillow if you have an eye pillow and lay it over the eyes to sort of close out all the light. And we'll take our arms out to a T. So take the arms out to a T with the palms up. Once you get set up, and I'm just going to stay here for a few more seconds so that if anybody is looking to try to figure out what they're doing, they can see what I'm doing. And then I'll get up and I'll kind of check on people while you're in your position. So we set ourselves up, begin to let go of tension. So notice, are you clenching your jaw? Are you holding the pelvic floor really tight? Are you tensing your hands? See if you can let go of some of that tension and begin to melt into the ground. You're going to stay here for 5 minutes. So long hold poses in restorative. Some will be longer than others. So this one will be about 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out, and all you have to do is relax. Imagine that you're just melting into the floor. And if you feel fidgety, just come back to your breath. You could even count the breaths, 4 counts in, little tiny pause, 4 counts out. Just giving yourself permission to release. begin to make some little movements with your fingers and toes, gently waking the body up again. Maybe rocking the head from side to side a little bit. And then rolling to one side, whichever side feels better to you. Using your arms sort of underneath your head as like a little pillow first. And then gently pushing up to a seat. And once you come up to a seat, you can roll the shoulders up and back if that would feel good. Or bring the chin down and let the head go back and forth a few times just to like loosen things up a little bit before we move to our next pose. And again, trying to be slow and gentle about it. I know when we do the setup for restorative, it can feel a little frustrating sometimes because you have to try to figure out what you're doing. And just trying to go with the flow and know that it's okay, that it's all going to be good. So our next pose is a supported child's pose. So if you have done yoga and you know child's pose, it's where the big toes are together and the knees are wide. So the difference is instead of laying straight down on the ground, we're going to use our pillows, our bed pillows or bolster as the thing that we lay on. So you may want that to be higher. So this is where you could use a couple of your books. I'm going to use my big books. And you can put them down so that the pillows can lay on top of them and leave a little space in between for where your arms will tuck, and your arms can either tuck underneath here or go at the top of the mat. And then we pile the pillows on top. And if that still feels too low for you, you could take a blanket and build it up and make it higher. And then the other thing I do before I get down there is I take a little blanket and I put it underneath where my ankles are going to rest so that my ankles don't hurt on the floor. Again, if you have knee stuff going on, you could put something under the knees, or if it's too much for the knees, send me a message and we'll figure that out. So what you want to do is have this whole configuration down here so that the pillow edges or the bolster edges are coming to the inside of your inner knees, thighs. And then we sit up really tall, so the feet are flat on the ground, the tops of the feet. We sit up really tall. Before we make any movement, we always elongate the spine and then walk ourselves out until we can lay down on the bolster and turn your head to one side. The hands can rest on either side. Again, we want the elbows to be on the ground, or you could tuck them underneath, or you could just let them come around the front. So find which way the arms feel best for you, but making sure that they're supported. And for some people, they may want a blanket behind the knees. So that's another option too. So you can always play around and find what works best for your body. And I will let you know when it's time to turn the head in the other direction. And if the mind is wandering, just come back to the breath. Let the front of the body and the belly and the heart just sink into the props. Let yourself release that tension. Just let the props do all the work. And you can slowly turn the head in the other direction so that we give our neck a little bit of a rest and just get that other side. Breathing, unclenching your jaw, using the exhales to just let go of more tension. So from your child's pose, slowly push into the hands, bring the hands out, push into the hands so you begin to lift up. Take your time. And then lifting up onto hands and knees. If the bolster is not too high, we're going to do some cow-cat poses, and you could do it with the bolster there, or you could move it out of the way. And for cow-cat, you're just going to plant the hands, plant the knees. Your shoulders are over the wrists, your hips are over your knees, tops of the feet are on the ground. You're looking between your hands. And just on the inhale, lower your belly, lift your gaze. On the exhale, push the mat away, bring your chin toward your chest. Inhale, the belly lowers, your gaze lifts, and you spread your collarbones wide. Exhale, push away the mat and protract your shoulders. And just do a few more of these just to loosen the spine up again. This is a nice little stretch if you have no time to do full yoga, to just do some cow-cat stretches, and that's good for the spine. And you can come to a pause and a seat or kneeling, whatever feels good as we get ready for our next pose. which is a supported twist. So it's a very gentle twist, but again, if twisting is not something good for you, and if you're pregnant, that's you, then you just will do something else and just message me. But I don't think anybody did that. So this one we don't need any books for. We're just going to have the bolsters in front of us. You could have the blanket there again if you want a little bit more height. And this one, we're going to sit our hip down along the bolster. So it's like our hip is up against the bottom of the bolster or the pillows, and your knees are sort of scissored. And you can take one of your blankets and sort of put them between the legs so that it kind of pads them. And then what you've got is your ankle is sort of resting in the curve of the other foot. So what the movement here will be is to twist the torso while the hips stay where they are. So again, we sit up really tall before we do any twisting. And then we begin to twist toward our pillow and walk the hands out and lay the front of our body onto the pillow, the bolster, and turn your face in the direction of your knees. That's going to be the softest on the neck. If you're somebody who does restorative or yoga a lot and you know that you can turn your head the other way, there's going to be more tension there. So only do that if you know that's in your practice, because that's a little bit more intense. And again, so now we're just getting this gentle twisting motion. And just let yourself settle here. Close the eyes. Make any adjustments. While you want to stay still and restorative, if something is uncomfortable, that's not restorative at all. So if something's uncomfortable, just go ahead and make adjustments. If you have to sit up, move things around, that's okay. And then you settle back down. And again, the arms are on the ground so that they're not hanging out anywhere. They're just resting. And noticing maybe how the twist feels different from the straight on child's pose. Now the belly's pressing on this, but it's a difference. You can feel the difference in this. And we just stay here, and I'll let you know when we're going to switch to the other side. Seeing if you can be present in this moment. If the mind starts to go take care of your to-do list or worry about something, bring it back. Bring it back to this place and to your breath, and try to be here in the now. And when we move into these restorative postures, it lets our body know, it lets the parasympathetic nervous system know that it's okay to begin to move into a restful, restorative place. That we can leave fight or flight behind, and we can go ahead and move into a deeper relaxation. And so many of us don't take the time for that kind of rest in our busy lives. So just doing some restorative yoga, even if it's not as long as this class, on your own can really make a difference. And begin to push into your hands. Again, taking your time to slowly sit up. And once you come to an upright position, just turn to face the back of your mat. So you're sitting back with your back against the bolster. Take the feet as wide as your mat, and your hands come behind you, and just windshield wiper the legs a little bit. So again, sort of releasing the hips after we've done that twist before we go to the other side. And then all we have to do now for the other side is just turn to face the other direction. So the other hip is against the bolster. Get your blanket for between the legs, the knees. Once you get yourself situated, when your hip's against that bolster, we sit up really tall, and then we walk those hands out. We twist, lay ourselves down on the bolster, and again, the head turns toward the same way as your knees. And then we let the shoulders and everything relax. Let the shoulders ease down. Begin to slowly push yourself up and come to sit facing the back of the mat with the hips at the base of the bolster, feet as wide as the mat. Lean back into your hands and just do your little windshield wipers loosening up the hips again. And then coming back around to the front. So this next pose is like the queen of restorative poses, or the king. It's reclined, supported bound angle, or butterfly, or in Sanskrit, Supta Baddha Konasana. It is a really juicy one. So we want to make sure our setup for this is really careful. So you're going to need your books. I'm actually going to use my two big books stacked on top of each other. And I'm going to take another one. We're going to try to set up a ramp. If you don't have 3 books, that's okay. You can just try to put the bigger book at the back and then the smaller one. And then you could even take a blanket and put it on top of that to sort of hold the books in place. And you'll see like we're getting like a little ramp movement happening. Because when we put the pillows on, the goal is to make this incline so that when we lean back, we're leaning back on this and we're at an elevated position. So that's going to be what our back lays on. You're going to want your eye mask or washcloth. And then those 2 pillows that I told you to have, the throw pillows, they're going to be for under the knees. This is the one where you need a lot of props. I could have asked you to have the strap or the tie for this one too, but I decided to skip that tonight and just give us all a break. If you've ever worked on this one with the strap, you know that it's a little bit challenging, even when you're in person. So this is what this one looks like. You sit your hips, the base of the spine is at the bottom of that bolster. The soles of your feet are together, so the knees are going out. That's the butterfly wings, hence the name butterfly. These pillows can go underneath those knees, because again, we don't want the knees to be hanging and causing tension. So you can have the pillows under the knees as your support. Have a blanket nearby to lay across your belly, because it just kind of feels nice to have the weight on the belly. And have your washcloth. And again, we sit up really tall and we begin to lower ourselves slowly so the books don't slide out onto our bolster. And we can feel that we're at this nice incline. If you get back there and you feel like your chin is like jutting way up, bring yourself up and maybe get another blanket or a towel or something to stick underneath your head so that your head is not cranked back. And once you get there, you can take that blanket across your belly and your eye mask on. Take off your glasses if you have glasses. And then the arms. So the best way to describe how the arms should go is to take the arms up here by the hands, up by your collarbones. Trace the collarbones out. Let the hands pass over your shoulders and let the arms open up so the palms are up. The backs of the hands are on the ground. And you feel this heart-opening sensation. And just give yourself a check. Again, don't worry if you have to sit up and like readjust this. This is a complicated one, but trust me, it's worth it. We'll be here a little bit longer than the others. So again, the backs of the hands are on the mat, or the ground, I should say. So your heart is open. It's a very receptive, kind of vulnerable position, which is why sometimes the blanket over the belly just kind of gives you that sense of grounding. Close the eyes and just let yourself sink into this beautiful restorative pose, letting the heart be soft, letting the legs just relax into the props, into the pillows or blankets, whatever you're using to hold up those legs, so that you can kind of feel the inner thigh sinking toward the outer thigh sinking toward the blankets and the ground, and just this very relaxed, open kind of position. Unclench your jaw. Notice if you've got those shoulders crunched up toward the ears. Relax the shoulders away. Continue to soften, using the exhales to let go of tension. Begin to deepen your breath, making some little movements with fingers and toes. And if it would feel good, stretching the legs out long so you can bring the knees together and then extend them out long. And when you're ready, just gently rolling to one side using your hands to kind of catch you and push you up off of your bolster so that you can come back up to a tall seat. And again, you can make any movements that you'd want to make. Our next pose is Shavasana, or our final resting pose before we go into Yoga Nidra. So it's from here on out, it's like sleeping. So come to your tall seat, maybe do a few little seated cow cats. Inhaling, the chest open and the gaze lifts, and exhaling, bringing the chin to the chest. Just a few little movements after being in that reclined bound angle for about 8 minutes. And then we're going to set up for Shavasana. So you might want that bolster under the knees the way we did when we started at Mountain Brook. And if you do yoga, you probably know which way you prefer to do your resting pose. But this will be where we do our Yoga Nidra. So plan on being in a position that feels good for about 20 minutes. You want a cozy blanket to put over you once you get into your position. You could put something underneath your head if you'd like to put something underneath the head or the neck. And just get yourself into what we call a Yoga Nidra nest, where you're all cozy. I'll give you a minute just to get yourself all situated on your blanket, on your mat, under your blanket. Again, you can choose whether you want the roll under your knees or your legs flat, or you might be somebody who does not like to have the legs extended. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to have the knees bent with the feet on the floor, knock the knees together. So put the knees together and the feet wide if you choose that, because that way then it's like the knees serve as a prop to each other, so there's no effort. But if you can't, go ahead and extend the legs or put them over the bolster, that's good. And once you get all situated, put your eye mask on. Make any adjustments, like if you lay down and you're like, something feels like it's underneath you and uncomfortable, then make an adjustment. Go ahead and sit up and fix that so that you feel comfortable. And we're just going to rest in Shavasana for just a few minutes before we start Yoga Nidra. So just a couple of minutes to sort of settle into this place. And then I will tell you when the Yoga Nidra begins. And I guide you through that. So if you've never done Yoga Nidra, it's yogic sleep. It's a guided meditation that focuses on the body parts, like guiding through the body parts, and on the breath. And so it's really just, again, about relaxing and listening to my voice. You don't have to do anything else. And if you fall asleep, that's okay. It's not the goal, but it's okay. So just for now, spend a couple minutes settling into this space. Before we begin our Yoga Nidra, do just a little scan of the body, making sure that you've let go of that tension that you can feel yourself holding on to. The shoulders, the jaw, the hands, the hips, the pelvic floor. Just do that little scan to see if there's any place where you're holding things tight, where it feels like you're gripping, and see if you can let that go. Feel yourself settling in. Serene, like a still lake. Set aside anything that has happened before this moment, anything that's happening after this practice, and bring all your awareness into this practice. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Sigh it out the mouth. And again, inhale. Sigh it out the mouth. One more time. Inhale. And sigh it out the mouth. Our Yoga Nidra will now begin. I will name a series of energetic points in the body. Just let your awareness float from one part to another. Don't move the part or do anything. Just let your awareness go to that place. Start by floating your awareness to the point between the eyebrows. Effortless awareness of the point between the eyebrows. The hollow of the throat. The right shoulder joint. The right elbow joint. The wrist joint. The right thumb. The tip of the index finger. The tip of the middle finger. The tip of the ring finger. The tip of the little finger. Effortless awareness. Back to the right wrist joint, right elbow joint, right shoulder joint, hollow of the throat. Shifting your awareness to the left shoulder joint, left elbow joint, left wrist joint, the left thumb, tip of the index finger, tip of the middle finger, tip of the ring finger, tip of the little finger. Back to the left wrist joint, left elbow joint, left shoulder joint, hollow of the throat, the heart center, right side of the chest, the heart center, left side of the chest, the heart center, the navel center, the tip of the tailbone, the right hip joint, right knee joint, right ankle joint, the right big toe, the tip of the second toe, the tip of the third toe, the tip of the fourth toe, the tip of the baby toe. Back up to the right ankle joint, right knee joint, right hip joint, tip of the tailbone. Sweeping your awareness to the left hip joint, left knee joint, left ankle joint, the left big toe, tip of the second toe, tip of the third toe, tip of the fourth toe, tip of the baby toe. Back up to the left ankle joint, left knee joint, left hip joint, tip of the tailbone, the navel center, the heart center, hollow of the throat, the eyebrow center, the eyebrow center, the eyebrow center, And now we will begin to count from 27 back to 0. Inhaling 27, exhaling 27. Inhaling 26, exhaling 26. You continue at your own pace. When you lose your place, or if you lose your place, you start again at 27. If you get to 0, just rest there and breathe. Let go of the counting. Doesn't matter if you got to 0. Just come back to your breath without any counting. Become aware of the body gently moving with each inhale and exhale. Noticing the abdomen gently rise on the inhalation, and then the chest rise. And then on the exhalation, the abdomen falls and the chest falls. Inhale, abdomen rises, chest rises. Exhale, abdomen falls, chest falls. Feel this wave of breath, like a wave washing into the shore, then washing away from the shore. Follow this gentle wave of breath, each breath watching the wave rise and watching it fall. No need to make changes, simply watching. Watching the natural wave of breath like watching gentle waves on the ocean. And now, simply rest in your breath, not worrying about thinking about the breath or counting the breath, just resting in your breath without manipulating it, just letting the breath breathe. Bring your awareness back to your heart center. Notice the heart center rising on the inhalation and falling on the exhalation. Bring your awareness back to your body. Keeping the eyes closed and staying just as you are, Yoga Nidra is complete. Feel your body peacefully resting. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the places where your body touches the mat or the blankets. Feel the sensation of the props and your clothes against your skin and your body. Notice the temperature of the space you're in. Notice the sounds in the same room as you, the sounds that are more distant and outside of your room or your house. Begin to make some very tiny movements with fingers and toes as you deepen your breath. Feel the lightness of the body and that movement. Maybe expand that movement to rolling the wrists and rolling the ankles out, or rocking the head gently from side to side, taking your time, not doing it too quickly. And eventually, when you're ready, stretching your arms back behind you and taking a big full body stretch. And then when you're ready, rolling onto one side. It doesn't matter which side, you can choose. Rolling to that side, using your arm as a little pillow, sort of in a little fetal position, letting everything soften. One last time here, letting the heart soften toward the ground. And as we complete our practice, coming back to the ideas in the blessing of the Epiphany. The fact that if we could see the whole journey, we might never start. But we get this mercy of seeing it piece by piece and being able to walk along that path one step at a time. Where are you on your journey? Can you be present to the moment even if it's not the moment that you expected? And if you make a promise, break a promise, just make them again and know that we can start over every day. We can be a beginner every single day. So there's no resolution. If you already lost your New Year's resolution, that's okay. There's no resolution needed. We just start again. We don't have to wait for another whole year. And that's where we'll find those epiphanies. Gently push yourself up to a seat. And bring your hands to heart center if that's comfortable for you, or you could just cover your heart, whatever feels good for you. Bow your head slightly. Give yourself some gratitude for taking time on a Friday night to give yourself this practice to restore and renew your body and your spirit. And see if there's something from this practice that you can take into your weekend or to whatever situations you're navigating to maybe help you stay more in the moment when everything is trying to pull you into the whirlwind that is our life. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Peace in our hearts, peace in our homes, peace on our planet. Thank you so much for letting me serve you tonight. Namaste.